policies that have actually been put forward to ensure that, because we know that the Ministry of Trade and Investment, as much as possible, has tried to bring up enabling policies to ensure that we have an even ground for everybody, whether the domestic or foreign importers, to play on. Are we saying that these policies have not been properly implemented to ensure that everybody has an equal footing to ensure that we have the desired results that we want?
What I'm trying to tell you is this: policy that is built on faulty foundation cannot be realistic policy. There are fundamental problems, and why are we continuing to say this? There are fundamental problems, and unless we address those fundamental problems, we are just chasing the shadow. The fundamental problem is, let's fix the power problem, because it's very critical. It is the game changer. Let's fix the road problem so that people can move goods and services very quickly, as it is done all over the world. Third, let's bring interest rate low. Instead of fighting inflation, we shall be fighting interest rate. When all these fundamental things are done, other policies will fall in line. But when you do not do these things, you are creating other policies. Those policies will just be hanging there, and they will not come to the level of having an impact on the economy. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. So, government must stop this number that are being churned out from IMF. Because if you read the same IMF in 2012, Mr. William Rogers stated the same thing Mr. Jen Young stated in November this year. The same thing Mr. Rogers stated in November 2012 is the same thing Mr. Leon stated in 2013, which means that we must continue with the fiscal consolidation. We must continue with the quantitative tightening. We must continue to fight inflation. We must continue to open our borders. We must make sure that there's stability. Yeah.
We from the report we heard, the minister, when she was speaking, she actually scored the government in terms of job creation. She said that 1.6 million jobs have been created in the last 12 months in all sectors of the economy. And from what Mr. Odenim has just reeled out, we've seen that other countries like the US and China have done more than that. For the US, for instance, over 7 million jobs have been created this year alone, as well as in China. Now, she also says that this was largely driven by the private sector, but that Nigeria needs about 2 million jobs a year. Now, as a private sector, what's your take on this?
Well, the fact is this, if the figures she gave are accurate, that's quite impressive. Of course, looking at it from an analyst point of view, it looks like it's a bit exaggerated, but that she may have her figures. But if you look at it from what's my take on the aspect of job creation, are we creating enough jobs? And why can't we match the US or the Chinese government in terms of job creation? It's very simple. We do not have the infrastructure base that will propel job creation. If you look at those countries, like Adeline said, first thing first. And the first things are, let's make this economy attractive to investors who will want to locate in this country. And what are those things you need to do? You address the infrastructure gap, the power sector, the transport sector. You address the quality of education. You address the issue of security. You address the cost of funds. If you address these four elements, you find out that, look, and because we already have a natural market where this is a huge population, more than 170 million people, so it will compel countries to come and situate in the country. And it's no brainer because countries have done it. China turned themselves into a manufacturing hub of the world. Look at Brazil. What did Brazil do under Lula? What they did was they built infrastructure, world-class infrastructure, first-rate infrastructure. We're not doing that. The government should go focus on building infrastructure, not as a favor to the citizens, but as a way of stimulating the economy, to stimulate the growth of the economy.
But we're beginning to see that already happen.
No, I think we're too conservative with that. A classical example, look at the Dubai. It's one third world economy that was propelled into a world-class economy in less than 30 years by virtue of building infrastructure. They said, the sheikh in Dubai said, look, we build it and they will come. And they build it for world-class infrastructure. They don't know what is going to Dubai. Look at Singapore. They have, if you look at the Lee Kuan Yew's book, From the Third World to the First World, they build world-class infrastructure. They recognize their location in the global geography. And then they build on that. If you look at Nigeria, if we build an infrastructural base, in the first place we have a local market to support consumption of goods. But beyond that, we can actually serve as a base to export the rest of Africa. And for us to have a growth in our GDP to be inclusive, or to have the growth that the minister was talking of, about 9 to 10%, we need to have the infrastructure base that will support that. We don't have that. Go to China. Who are those that are beyond a few government-propelled multinationals? Most of my activities is taking place in China. We are being done at substantial level, small family, mom and pop factories that are building all sorts of things at the back end of the residential homes, because the infrastructure support that is available. In Nigeria, look at what happened in the 70s. In the 70s, Nigeria was at the verge of an industrial revolution. We had, if you go to Aba, where I grew up, you find out that virtually every household will manufacture something. Leather wares, textile materials, and then from there we propelled into medium scale enterprise. We began to see factory line shoe manufacturers in Aba. Then they went into bottling companies, RAC, and all the rest. But all those things have died because economic policies did not support them. So we need to go back and address those issues. But beyond the incentive that the Minister of Trade and Exchange, I must give him kudos for what he has done. Beyond the incentive that he has been trying to compel industrialization in the country, we need to create enabling environment for industrialization.
Okay. Now, Odilum, it's not just about creating jobs, but how about sustaining them?
First of all, let me add to what he is saying, because I'm happy that we all agree. You see, the first thing I would like us to do, and I'll continue to say it, let this Minister of Finance, if he is nationalistic, come up with a roadmap on industrialization. Because it's when she comes up with that roadmap, she will see all the deficiencies in the system. When she comes up with the roadmap on industrialization, she will now discover the difficulty to finance industrialization in Nigeria. When she comes up with a roadmap on industrialization, she will discover that we need to fix infrastructure at all cost. And then she can now come up with infrastructure master plan, which could we go and borrow 300 billion from our sovereign bond? Could we use the 3.5 billion of our 45 billion barrels of oil reserve as a strategic collateral? Because the infrastructure must be fixed. My sister, we can continue talking grammar from here to tomorrow. There's no other magic than infrastructure.
Okay, so now back to the question I actually asked you. Mr. Odilum, back to the question I actually asked you. You know, Mr. Johnson has already spoken so extensively about what you're still saying, and it's good that you corroborate what he's already said. But like I said, it's not just about creating these jobs. How about sustaining them?
Yes. How do we sustain something is if we continue to invest in what we are doing. You see, Dangote is sustaining his economic growth, his business expansion, because he's continuously investing, upgrading, expanding, modernizing. Chinese government is continuously investing, modernizing, expanding. The United States government is continuously investing, modernizing. But we can create a buffer for the poor and the less privileged, the handicaps. So we can come up with a distribution system where those who earn more will be made to pay more taxes, so that money will go into the government treasury, so that government will actually use the money to take care of those who are less privileged, those who cannot compete in the system. And that will mean that our tax system needs to be overhauled. We have been operating with outmoded, obsolete tax system. We have to modernize our tax system so that people cannot just earn money and they spend it. People will earn money and they pay about 30 or 40% of their income to sustain the poor and the less privileged and the handicapped. So there's no other way to sustain the jobs or job creation or sustain the economy unless we continue to invest, to expand, modernize, and develop our infrastructure. Infrastructure is not actually physical infrastructure alone. We are talking about social infrastructure.